What is a Grey Jedi? Now I'm gonna pull some sources for you guys to have a look at and decide a bit for yourself, but also give my interpretation of it. We have here multiple sources for Grey Jedi that is from the Star Wars Expanded Universe. Note that most of these are, well, the main ones that are in universe, especially Knights of the Republic 2, the rest of source books, is Old Republic, and that's where I find that I can do that. Anyway, Grey Jedi. Since the Great Sith War, the Jedi Order has undergone serious change. Historians revisit the Jedi Code to produce a more literal and more restrictive translation of the ancient credo. Falling between the cracks are those Jedi who do not necessarily agree with reinterpreting 20,000 years of proper Jedi etiquette. Like others, those Grey Jedi grope for a new paradigm of right and wrong. They consider themselves beholden only to the Force and to their own consciousness when determining their path. These mavericks are regularly at odds with the Jedi Council. They reject strictures against admitting Jedi hopefuls over age 4, and they defy the prohibition of Jedi having families. These rogue Jedi search their feelings in the living Force to determine their actions, rather than relying on an increasingly inscrutable Jedi Council. Grey Jedi recognize that theirs is a precarious position, but they believe moral certainty demands tempting the dark side. As Knights of the Old Republic version, which is quite interesting how we go between Dawn of the Jedi and Knights of the Old Republic. They reinterpreted the Jedi etiquette and the Jedi Code and introduced a bunch of new rules as a separate law point. And from that, it's the people that didn't really line up with the Jedi Council's opinion of what a Jedi should be. But they still followed the Jedi Code. And that's the thing, when you have being called Jedi, you still need to follow the Jedi Code. But these people still followed the code, but were at odds with the Jedi Council because they rejected the new rules coming in, which is very different. And it's great I'm reading through this to remember all of what I was meaning as well. Anyway, Knights of the Republic 2, the Sith Lords. Grey Jedi are those who, having completed the teachings of the Jedi, operate independently and outside of the Jedi Council. They are typically seen as misguided, though they have not necessarily succumbed to the dark side. This is the one I hold on to mostly because it is an in-universe description inside of KOTOR 2. Rather than being a source book somewhere. And I think that it is very much following their interpretation of the Jedi Code as of KOTOR 2, and they're working independently and outside of the Jedi Council. Examples in the Clone Wars era would be the Artesian Jedi, and some even speculate that Qui-Gon Jinn would be a Grey Jedi. But I think it's more a mentality thing he had, because he still followed the direction of the Jedi Council. He just bent the rules a fair bit. So, but I say by the time of the prequels, because these two are Knights of the Old Republic, the term became really outdated by that time, and so they didn't call them Grey Jedi. So that, but they were just people that the Artesian Jedi had their own name inside the material that they're in, and Qui-Gon was Qui-Gon a bit. He was still allowed to be part of the Jedi Order and all that. He didn't have to work independently and outside of the Jedi Council. Then we have the Jedi Path, a manual for students of the Force. The so-called Grey Jedi have been with us since the beginning. Although they do not break with the Jedi orthodoxy concerning the dark side, notice that, they bristle and ask to take orders from the Council. Grey Jedi make compromises, cut corners and hide their actions from scrutiny, all under the assumption that their experience makes them authorities on policy. They are mavericks who are difficult to control but can be valued members of the Order after they have been persuaded to follow the established hierarchy. You can see, because the Jedi path was technically written thousands of years after the Knights of the Old Republic interpretation, that they changed the way that the term was being used here. Grey Jedi very much has gone from being people that work independently and outside of the council to they do not break with the orthodoxy, but they don't like taking orders and they will compromise and cut corners and hide their actions from scrutiny. Which, with this definition, you would say it is a Qui-Gon Jinn type figure. And it is interesting, as I realise now rereading these, that the way the Grey Jedi term changed throughout the years is interesting, isn't it? Because it was independently and outside of the Jedi Council, and now it's they can be persuaded to follow the established hierarchy. They'll just not like taking orders. Which I would almost say they shouldn't even be called something different. They're just a little bit more rogue elements than normal Jedi. Well, the ideal Jedi, like Obi-Wan Kenobi, for example. Anyway, the Jedi Academy Training Manual, which will be the latest in the timeline, because Jedi Academy Trilogy would be after the Jedi Path sourcebook was written if they were to exist in universe. Force-using Jedi who meddle with the dark side without totally surrendering to it are sometimes referred to as Grey Jedi. A Grey Jedi taps into the light side and the dark side equally. Members of the Genseri outwardly deny such claims that they are grey, but the Jedi and the Sith do not hesitate to say that the Genseri refuse to admit the truth to themselves. There are those in the galaxy who are not affiliated with any tradition that delve into both the light side and the dark side that are true Grey Jedi. These people cause concern for the Jedi, since these Grey Jedi often portray themselves as holding full knowledge of the Force, sometimes claiming to know more than the Jedi, and often actively recruit other Force-sensitive people to join their cause. See, I don't agree that if they're just grey, that they should also be called Jedi. If they're grey Force users, they're grey Force users. But if they're not following the Jedi code, they're not Jedi. It's like you're either a Jedi or you're not, sort of thing. And that is a quote from Pablo Hidalgo. I think he said it even before 2014. And I would agree with him on that. They're very much going, oh, this is the interpretation that everyone draws from, I think. And I think at the time, because it's Jedi Academy, when Luke's bringing about his new Jedi Order, with a mentality that he's bringing in of taking the Jedi back from the reinterpreted 20,000 years of proper Jedi etiquette, he's going back to training people when they're older and having families and stuff, that they had to change the definition of the Grey Jedi here yet again. However, this Jedi Academy Training Manual was also a much earlier source, because the Jedi Academy Trilogy came out before the previous three that I've written, especially before Knights of the Old Republic. So as far as that goes, the Jedi Academy Training Manual would be an older, it's older as far as release date, and so I would take the newer interpretations over the older one, because these may be Grey Force users that I just read the description of, but they would not be called Jedi. It's also the same sort of interpretation of, would you really call Joruus C'baoth a Jedi in Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and The Last Command in the Thrawn trilogy? No, I wouldn't. He was deluding himself a bit and saying he was a Jedi, and I think because how early it was in the production of the expanded universe, the term Jedi was bandied around a lot more, because you also see that the term Jedi comes up in the Jedi Knight video game series and the Jedi Knight books, but that being meant in the Jedi Knight books, when they were saying about Dark Jedi, they were actually the Inquisitors. And some of them were Jedi that had been turned to the dark side, which is, yes, they're Dark Jedi, but they're also sit in a bit different spot when they're Inquisitors than to just be Dark Jedi. And then we have the complete Star Wars encyclopedia, a little one here. Grey Jedi, a term used by the Jedi Knights to describe the Jedi who did things their own way, convinced that the path they had chosen was the only true one. Which, going by the majority, we went from they're mavericks at odds with the council, and so they work independently and outside the council. And they are convinced that the path they had chosen was the only true one, which very much is, this is their own interpretation of the Jedi code that they're following. Which, in the Jedi Path source, the bristling to take, or when asked to take orders and compromising, cutting corners and stuff, was following their own path. And I think eventually the Grey Jedi definition in the Jedi Path manual would lead to becoming more extreme with the individual, and then ending up operating independently and outside of the Jedi Council, like it says in the Knights of the Old Republic 2 source. Now, I forget who exactly put all this together, but I thank you for it. It's been ages since I actually noted it down, and someone mentioned it in one of the Facebook groups, but yeah, they put all this together. Now, I think people hear Grey Jedi and think, oh yes, light, dark, oh in the middle is grey. And that's where they get the Jedi Academy training manual definition and think, oh, that must be the right one. But I'm saying that the newer sources more clearly defined Grey Jedi, and the Grey Force users are not Grey Jedi, they are Grey Force users, as terminology is important. So that's my bit on Grey Jedi.